Hello, everybody. Welcome to Simple Steps 1. I am starting to promote everybody here to panelist. You can accept it if you want, or don't accept it if you don't want. This will allow you to be able to speak in the room and, even better, go on camera in the room because I love seeing faces and I love interaction. So um, that's what I'm doing right now. In addition, while I'm doing this, usually I go around the room and ask people what they do or what their business is or what they want it to be. And then what do you want out of this class? Since they expanded it to the entire state, that takes up too much time. So in the chat, real quick, if you can put, my business is X. I am in business, yes or no? And what do you want out of this class today? I could try to make it more personal as well. And as one thing you learn as a business owner, you have to kind of go with the flow. And I am trying to get my class manager in here. And so I am now going to be having to email him the link. So give me 1 second. And then I'm going to get this. Sorry, be patient with me. All right. So in the chat, like I said, start putting what your businesses are. So all right, I'm gonna make notes so I can personalize it. So we got Sylvia is idea. Awesome. Graham, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. Carrie Ann, it looks like. Holistic health and coaching.
Yeah, it's Carrie Ann. You did it right.
Awesome. What do you want to get out of this class?
I want to learn how to market properly and reach clientele. For some reason, I'm not reaching the right customers. So I want to figure out how to do that.
All right, awesome. And I'm also now going to multitask and open up the class. I'm sorry, everybody. I had a hectic morning. Again, you're all getting the business for yourselves, right? You're thinking the business. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is juggling many, many things. Well, the person who helps my business is away on vacation this week. And so I'm juggling lots of balls. And one of them was a family meeting this morning and then a personal thing that I had to wrestle with between that meeting and this meeting. So I am now going to open up the presentation so we can kind of get started. But in the meantime, for those now just entering the room, please in the chat, put in there what your business is or what you want it to be if you're in business. And then what do you want to get out of this class? And as I open this, I will get started. Simple steps 1. Keith Master. Okay, so great. So now, my name is Keith Leibson. I am a SCORE mentor. You are at Simple Steps 1. So real quick, what is SCORE? If you don't know who SCORE is a nationwide organization uh, supported by, it's a nonprofit, and it's all through via volunteers like myself that volunteer to mentor people who are in business or want to start a business and any kind of thing that you might need help on. And SCORE has offices all throughout the country. And even Charlotte, there's a whole bunch. We'll get a list in a little bit. Now, that being said, there's probably 50 active mentors in Charlotte, and then a lot more throughout Charlotte. Now, my background, I've been a SCORE mentor for, close to 10 years now. How I became a mentor, I'm actually one of the mentors who is actually still in business. A lot of the mentors are retired. And then over the years, I looked at kind of expanding and to people who are in business because, people who are retired and people who are still are in business might have different experiences and they thought it was a valuable resource to have available. And so they opened it up to people in business. And that's when I got involved. My background is, and I say this to give you a background, not because of what I do for a living. So I am a financial advisor. I've been a financial advisor for close to 30 years. I work with small businesses and a lot of just people that work at small businesses. But a lot of my business clients are dealing with a lot of issues that you all are dealing with. So I have people who professionally pay me, and I do cash flow planning. I help them with corporate structure or finding, how do we do all the things that you all are trying to learn and maybe are wrestling with. In addition, me personally has gone through the journey that some of you all are going through. What I mean by that, I started off many years ago at a bigger firm. And then I left that big firm with another person and went independent. And me and him started our own firm. And so I had a partnership and we hired employees. That lasted 10 years. And then me and him had a kind of falling out. So from there, I kind of had to restart my practice, not really restart it, but branched off, had to do some rehiring, start again. So I have experience there dealing with partnerships, growing a practice, going independent, and all kinds of things. Setting up, I was a sole proprietor, went from that to an S Corp. So I run my own S Corp and I help people with their S Corp. So that's my background. And what I'm going to do, because usually we have a class manager, they're trying to jump in, not sure they jumped in yet. Um, okay, I'm going to kind of peek through the group here so everyone else's businesses are. So I see here Timothy, Tim, early stages, ice hockey training. All right, I'm from the Northeast originally, so that sounds pretty cool. I remember when I was a little kid skating on ponds. That's the only thing I miss about being down south is not having frozen ponds to skate on in the winter. Pretty cool. All right, we've got Michelle. All right, Michelle, you're looking to health and wellness. That's another person. Someone else on this call today was looking to open holistic health. So one of the things we'll talk about as far as getting into business, sales, and marketing is networking, right? Strategic partnerships or alliances or surrounding yourself with other people to get ideas. So that's pretty cool. Um, Wellness blog. Okay. I'm kind of going fast here, so I apologize. Um, that was Michelle, the blog. Okay. Philip. Help people buy and sell businesses. All right, and learn more. One thing, again, I got to jump around here a bunch. We'll talk about in SCORE today the ways you can start a business. Start it from scratch, buy a business, and another way is a franchise. There are actually franchises that actually you become a broker to help people buy and sell businesses. The guy I know that used to do that was called Trans World. I think that's what it was. Well, that still exists, but there's franchises out there that will help you if you don't want to start it from scratch. All right, Siraj, awesome. What is that? IT services, guidance, awesome. All right, Kimberly Small, tech consulting. I'm kind of abbreviating here. Marketing. All right, you're all doing a good job. Regina, I'm kind of jumping around. I can't cover everybody because I want to get into the presentation. Regina, catering, how to grow. Right. Camille, home decor. Okay, cool. All right. So I am a very interactive person. That's kind of why a little bit the Zoom finally drives me nuts. I can't see faces. So thank you all for going. At least one, Carrie Ann, my one person on screen. So jokingly, whether like it or not, I'll see your facial reaction. I love to see facial interaction and interaction from the group. So when we're live, you can raise hand, you can jump in. So here on Zoom, raise your hand on the screen. I'll see it. Put a question in the chat, and I'll try to catch it. But do not feel like you can't interrupt me during this discussion because I want interaction. So if you want to be able to talk, just raise your hand and I'll let you know, I'll enter you into the room and you can talk. All right, so chat. Okay, cool. All right, so here we go. Slide from beginning. So we are doing simple steps. One, you're here, you want to start a business, right? Or you're thinking of starting a business, or you're in business and you want some guidance. We want to first thank one of our partners, Truist. We are a nonprofit, SCORE. I know a lot of people think we're part of the SBA. We are not part of the SBA, but they're a huge supporter and they're one of our funders. Another funder, a big funder, is Truist Bank, so we want to thank them. And so also you will get this presentation emailed to you from SCORE. But here's a great resource for you right down here, this charlotte.score.org. So if you have not, I want to encourage everybody here to use that as a resource. There's a lot of good templates on there, videos. Some of you might have found this class through that website, but on that website, they have all different other workshops. There's a lot. I think they're doing a workshop on legal pitfalls if you're in business. They just announced it, so you'll see it on that on charlotte.score.org. There's a thing on the top of workshops, and I'm not sure what date that is, but you'll see a lot of great workshops. So use that as a resource, and definitely get yourself one of the many resources that SCORE does have is one-on-one mentoring. And so you can get a person like myself that will work with you on a one-on-one basis on on whether it's marketing or cash flow or any issue that you want to work on, they'll work on it with you. Okay. You mentioned SCORE has offices all over Charlotte, all over North Carolina. Here's all of them. So again, if you get a request one-on-one mentoring, they will try to connect you with a mentor that's in your local geographic area. So what are we doing today? Okay, so what we're doing today, and I'm going to get my pen out here. Here's we are today. All right. So in the past, way in the past, before COVID, they would actually have these classes also in this format or one-on-one. Okay. But what this class is doing today, it's going to cover all of these at a high level. Right? So we're going to cover all of them at a high level. And then what session 2, 3, 4, and 5 would do is then you would dive into the details and work on your business concept, work on your marketing plan, work on your your cash flow and your financials, and then, the funding options, et cetera, et cetera. So I know SCORE has these all available through that website to do on your own. And I'm not really sure when SCORE, and they might even plans on, but eventually they might plan on doing them in this format as well. But the point is today is we're going to cover all these in an overview and give you all a really good foundation for a starting point or a refresher. I've seen people start businesses like that, doing well or not doing well, and haven't done any of this, and then they want to kind of regroup and kind of get centered and focused and kind of start building that foundation, because a lot of the stuff we're talking about today is critical for long-term success. All right. So here we are. We're going to skip through this one, clear my drawings. Are you ready? Right. So what are you going to learn today? So we're going to learn some myths and realities of being in business for yourself, some critical factors that you need to have. What are your options of starting a business? I talked about a little bit before. Components of ownership. How do you make it legal? What are some basics of a business plan? At the end, there's a self-assessment that you'll do on your own, and then we'll talk about next steps. All right, so that's kind of what we'll learn about today. And every once in a while, I'm going to peek at my clock. And the reason why I'll peek at my clock is joining us today is a representative from the library. The library has a great resource that a lot of you guys might benefit from. So I need to be done by 2 to give her half an hour. So every once in a while, I'll peek at my clock to make sure I'm staying on track. All right. And you'll notice in the beginning, I talk kind of fast and I try to slow myself down. I try to pace myself so I have enough time, but don't take away her time. So what are some of the myths and realities of entrepreneurship, right? One of them is as an entrepreneur, you don't have to work that hard or put in long hours. While in some cases that's true, in most cases, especially in the beginning, it's not. You're going to work a lot of hard hours and a lot of hard work. If anything, the challenge is going to be managing your time and learning how to like put down the physical work and then for me, the mental work, right? But it's a myth. You will definitely be working hard and putting in hours. Myth number two is most people think that their product is unique and that there's no competition. Now, my ice hockey training person down here, definitely unique, and you might not have a lot of competition, right? But for most of us, at the end of the day, you might have a little bit of uniqueness, a little bit better service, or maybe you're one of those people that has like your product or service is so different than anybody else in the marketplace, and that's awesome. That gives you a real good differentiator. But for the most of us, we're not. We're nothing special. We're special, but we're not unique, right? I'm a financial advisor. There's a million of us in the marketplace, right? Um, my holistic wealth coach, IT services, tech, even catering. There's a lot of them, right? So again, the challenge or the work in your marketing or your sales is right, how do you get clients? And if there's a differentiator, how do you present that in your marketing, either in print or verbal or social media? Um, but really is how do you separate yourself from the competition as well? But my point is we all have competition. And at the end of the day, we're unique, but we're not that as unique as we think. Okay. Myth number three, as a business owner, you can deduct everything. So I'm only laughing because if you saw my tax bill and the wonderful thing about myth number three, as you start, you don't pay much taxes, but as you go and the more successful you get in anything in life, whether it's a business owner making money, even somebody working at a company making money, the more money you make, you realize how much money you pay in taxes. All right. So a myth is that you're not going to pay taxes as a business owner, and that is not correct. Okay. Really, at the end of the day, the bottom line is what you're really deducting is you're reducing your revenue, which might reduce profit, which flows through when you pay income tax on. But at the end of the day, you're going to be paying taxes. And the more successful you get, the more taxes you're still going to be paying. Okay. There's ways you can, but to be fair, there are ways you can minimize taxes as a business owner. And that's when you kind of get into doing S Corp stuff and other things. So you can do some things, but just want to make you aware that it's not some tax shelter where you're just going to get rid of taxes. Okay. Myth number four is that you don't have a boss, which is in essence true, but depending on your business, you're going to have maybe quasi bosses, right? Vendors to answer to, vendors to work with. You might have like, compliance or regulatory bodies or vendors or, all kinds of people that you're dealing with. And in essence, yes, as an owner, you have maybe more control, but you're still dealing with people that are going to affect your business and affect your life in ways that you might have a little bit. In some ways, you have no control over. And in essence, kind of in ways might feel like a boss. Okay. So that's a myth. And then myth number five, as a business owner, again, you can do what you want. Well, yeah, you can do more things that you want, but not everything that you want. You still have limitations based on compliance or regulations and so forth. But yes, as a business owner, that was, to be fair, that's a myth here. But to be fair, the other side of the myth, that's what spurred me and that partner back in the early 95 to go independent. There were things that we couldn't do where we were that we wanted to do. And that was a catalyst for us to go independent and starting our firm on our own. Okay. But even in there, I still had people to answer to. in certain respects, right? That, that makes sense. I'll kind of raise my hand, and if people are going like this, I'll assume you all are getting it. If not, just, throw something up in the chat. All right. Okay. So the reality of this, we all kind of know, with the failure rate of businesses. Um, the positive is most businesses now are lasting more than 2 years. In the olden day, way back when, I saw this number to be higher. More businesses failed even in 2 years. But now that number is 5 years. Okay. But at the end of the day, most businesses stay in business 2 years. Whether or not it's profitable or not, or enjoyable or not, is a different story. Okay. The real catalyst is 5 years. Most are out of business. And why is that? Is they're not doing the things they need to be doing to make them successful. All right. And that's why you all are here today. And the key is you got to keep doing it. I've seen businesses stop doing the things that made them successful, which resulted in them in going out of business. So when you do it and you're successful, you got to keep doing it. That's the point. So what are some critical factors that you need to have in order to be successful? All right. I always kid around and say, well, if you didn't have these factors, you wouldn't be here today. However, let's be honest with ourselves, and maybe you read this list and say, you know what? I don't have a strong work ethic. Okay. But you need to have one. All right. You also need to have experience in your field. You need to have effective time management. You need to have the ability to multitask. Like even today, I was talking to the library person. I was, the person who worked for my office, she's away on vacation this week. I have another advisor. So me and him are taking on her role. Okay. In addition to it, I have family things I had to deal with. I got to take care of my dog, so I'm juggling that. And then I have to get to the office and do work things. So you're always juggling things. And then even in the business, there's always things that you're juggling. You need to be willing to take advice from others. I am still taking advice from others. I'm always seeking advice from others. If you're not willing to take advice from others, you will not grow. I am constantly asking for advice from my clients, from other business people. So you have to be willing to open and take advice. If you're thick-skinned and you can't, you're gonna have a hard time being in business for yourself. And then, adequate capital is a critical factor, but that means different things to different people, right? What's adequate capital to you? The amount of that is different for somebody else, right? So that really comes into when you do the cash flow work and the financials of your life in this process will determine what is your adequate capital to start, what is your adequate capital that you need maybe to operate, and really adequate capital, even to get out to fund your personal life, to pay your bills there. All right. So just be fair, they have all this stuff. And if you don't have some of this stuff, you might either need to go get it, or maybe the only one I can think about how you can delegate it would be the first one, which is experience in the field. I have seen people be successful that didn't have experience in the field that they were getting into business in. However, they were really good operators or really good salespeople. And then they got out and they partnered with people that had experience in maybe being a chef or doing the thing that they wanted to do. Okay. So those people would have to partner with somebody or had the adequate capital to pay someone who had the experience in the business, that they were getting into, so forth. All right. Hope that makes sense. We'll move on. So, all right. So now moving on. So now we're kind of, as I speak and do these classes, I do tend to jump around a little bit, but it all ties together, right? So what I mean by that is some questions where I get, if I had it here, is how do I do a business plan? How do I write a business plan? And we talked about it in the beginning. You're going to learn today about a business plan, right? So everything now we're going to start talking about, or not everything, but a lot of it is part of your business plan. And one of them is my favorite part, the financials. Okay. So a business plan, really, to me, I like it short, sweet, and simple, right? What do you want to do? What is your business? Who are you? Yes, what is your purpose, your mission? Sweet and short page, right? And then another section is going to be your financials, right? The cash flow plan, right? So, what are all your expenses? What are your expenses upfront costs, right? Um, the catering business, home decor, the holistic health, um, the person wants to buy, sell businesses. I'm trying to think in my head, what's the upfront cost you might have? Maybe setting up a website, liability insurance, um, catering equipment, right? Home decor, you might have to have samples. I'm trying to think outside my head, right? Start writing them down. And on this page right here, you see some examples. Okay. And then you're also going to have the ongoing monthly costs. Start writing them down. Um, and then what happens, yes, in your business plan on the financials, then you'll have the summary of it, right? So my expected revenue is X, and here's how I expect to get that revenue. And then as I jump around to the cash flow, I'm going to see X amount of, I'm going to get X amount of hockey training or X amount of IT tech accounts or X amount of customers. Well, the cash flow planning, I can help you or will help you figure that out, right? So if you have all your expenses, here's your monthly nut, here's what you're going to charge. Well, how many people do you need to get that to equal what your monthly nut is, right? So again, then you can take that data and keep it summarized in your business plan. All right. So do you have the financial resources? Again, what do your financials look like? What does your cash flow planning look like? Are you writing this stuff down? And then when you share it with me and people like me, I can look at it and we can look at it and help you. And then ongoing, do you track it? You track it, which allows you to see where you're measuring where you thought you were going to be. And then the beauty of it is when you track the plan going forward, right? So, Keith, I have a plumbing company. They, now again, back to give you real life examples, I do this as a SCORE mentor, but I do it professionally. So people pay me, right? So eventually, when you grow your business, you can maybe delegate some of this stuff to people, right? To this client, I have software. They link to my software. I see all their money coming in, coming out, and she comes in once a month. I have their financials updated with their actual spending, actual inflow, and then we could do projections of the future. Keith, I want to, hire another plumber. What's it going to look like? And now we can just add all those expenses and then it'll filter out 24 months out. Okay. As you can tell, cash flow to me is very important and to you it should be as well. And this is just a good snapshot of all the things you need to be thinking about of costs that you're going to have to start up and then ongoing. All right. And then when you write it down, we're going to look at it and I'm always like, hey, did you think about that? Did you think about that? Oh, I forgot about that. All right. Does this all make sense? Again, usually people going like this and raising their in a meeting face to face. So thank you, Carrie Ann, for being my one, courageous person to go on camera today. So thank you. Um, Other financial considerations, this one we talk about with total cost a month of living. That they mean how I interpret that is personal, right? So when I do cash flow planning with people, now again, everyone's different, right? You might be single, you might have be married or have a partner, have shared expenses. You have your life, but in any of those scenarios, you need to know or how much money you need out for personal, right? So, I break it out in two ways, right? In your personal, you have those minimum needs, right? Well, at my house where I live, I got to pay my rent. I got to pay my mortgage, right? I got to pay my utilities. I got to pay my car payment, right? Then you have the stuff, I got to pay for my food. Above that, vacations, yada, yada, yada. That's your choice if you want to budget for that and you're planning, right? I always have a startup, can you afford it or not is another question, right? But what this is meaning here, what I talk with as a mentor or my clients is what is the minimum need that you need out of this business to take care of your bills. And then, yes, of course, over time, then we add to that to take care of the fun stuff and retirement or vacations and so forth. Now you might need to meet that minimum need out of cash flow from the business, right? And then in the cash flow planning, I would incorporate that the cash flow plan, right? And then how much clients, how much revenue people need to see to meet the whole nut, right? I know in my life, I like to give you perfect examples. When I first moved down here, I had no income, right? I was starting from scratch. Um, but I had a plan where we can live off my wife's salary, and she was a teacher. Now the nice thing was she was a teacher in New Jersey, came down here, so her salary was almost the same back then as she was kind of making when she started up there. And so to us down here, we made a lot of money and costs were really cheap. But my Keith Lapes tangent, I apologize. My point being is that we had a life built where I could start from scratch with no income and we could live off of her salary. Okay. So that's what you want to do is kind of think about that stuff. So I always encourage people to kind of take a little bit of a microscope at their personal planning, cash flow, if they haven't. All right. Hope that makes sense. Usually does for everybody. All right. So how are you going to fund your business and what are sources of capital? Right. Gosh, out of the ones that I wrote down, I almost would think, and I just from my own little microscope here, the most upfront capital intensive business might be my catering person. Um, but I'm not sure what IT has to buy or home decor has to buy or home health has to buy. Um, but how can you fund it? Obviously, personal savings, family and friends, which is very dangerous. Um, I love, I love this one, right? Sorry. I've seen a lot of people do that very successfully. And, even like I said, by giving personal examples, when I moved down here, I didn't know anybody. I was making phone calls, doing mailers. I used to bulk mail, did it all myself. And I used revenue as it came in to grow the practice. I've seen a lot of people do that. Even my plumber, she's been doing it down as they keep growing, revenue has been growing the practice. And I go on and on tons of examples. The negative of that, as I say, negative of that is yes, you grow slower, right? Um, but I've seen people borrow tons of money and not be successful. Now they're in debt for 40 grand, 50 grand or more, right? Because you know, I like going, so anyway, that's the way you can do it, revenue from the business. Um, you can borrow, and then of course, credit cards, very risky because of the high interest rate. Okay. The challenge with borrowing, to be fair for startups, into the misconception, I think this should be in the myths, is that you can borrow money. And the answer is pretty much no. Generally, unless you have 2 years of revenue, banks are not going to lend to you. There are some ways sometimes it's easier. We'll get to a little bit. But generally, it's very hard to get lending as a startup or without 2 years of revenue to show to a bank. All right. So that's ways to get funding and sources. Any questions on that? All right. Let me check my chat. Perfect. Oh, I got a question here. 1 o'clock. Can an entrepreneur succeed in business without professional knowledge, practice, experience, or relevant skills? All right. So I'm reading this question in the chat. Can an entrepreneur succeed in a business without professional knowledge, practical experience, or relevant skills? I mean, I would say yes, anybody can succeed. However, in that scenario that you describe here, the probability of success, I would say, is very, very low. Unless you had the resources and the capital to outsource and delegate the knowledge, experience, and skills to somebody else. Okay. I hope that answers your question. If not, shoot another one. And then what I'll do is Yeah, I can't. All right. Okay, cool. All right. Let me move on to the next slide. Clear drawings. All right. So what are your options? So now you want to get into business. So what are your options? You can start a new business, buy a new business, buy a franchise. Now, some do overlap. Be a home-based business, online business, or be a nonprofit. But obviously, there's overlap here, right? You can be an online, home-based business and start from scratch, or be home-based, online, and buy a business, right? You could be a brick and mortar and have an online business. You got both. So there is some overlap here. But what are the advantages and disadvantages of all those ways you can get started? Okay, so we're going to cover that. The advantages of starting from scratch, it's your baby, right? You start from scratch. You choose the market. You choose the direction. You choose the mission, the purpose. Everything is yours, right? Which is awesome. There's a huge beauty to that. The negative, right? And I think I saw it in a couple people in the chat with their business. And it might have been Carrie Ann, right? As an example. Well, how do I find customers when I have no customers, right? I have no base. How do I build this, right? So that's a disadvantage. And of course, as a result, you're taking on more risk. And as a result, you have no track record, no history. Okay, I remember, and I still, when I'm out networking, I meet someone that's new in in an industry, or a new business, and I'm even jaded if it's our first time at the chamber. I want to see if they show up again. I want to see how often I'm going to see them. I want to have interactions, and then over time, I get more confidence and trust, and maybe all right. And so that, in a way, for that person, is building a little bit of a track record. Okay, so that's a disadvantage of starting from scratch. That's the point. So another way is you can buy a business. And I think this is very well overlooked. What I mean by that is there's a lot of, not that, the catering business wants to buy somebody else's, but there's like, shoot, we have a person in here today. They wanted, I think they said, start a business where they help people buy and sell businesses. Okay. There are franchises out there that people hire to help them do that, right? I know landscapers that try to sell their business. I have clients of mine that I say, hey, what is your exit strategy? And all the time, part of the exit strategy is hire people that might one day want to be an owner, or that want to be an owner, or are there anybody in, I always say, is there anybody in your business that might want to be an owner, right? So they want to transition out. So what is the advantage? You will be buying an established clientele in a known business, a known entity, a known formula. You'll be able to get access to their records, and they will have a proven track record, right? And this is one of those areas, sometimes this and buying a franchise, that's a little bit different. But when you buy an existing business, sometimes it can make getting financing a little bit easier, especially if you have a well-written transition plan. Okay. But what are the disadvantages? Yeah, there could be hidden risk, hidden debt you're not aware of, hidden, maybe the employees don't like the other owner, right? So yes, you have to do your own due diligence when you buy existing business. And one thing is right, you want to go out on the road with that business. You want to have, talk to customers or talk to employees, and so forth. And in reality, also, you don't want to handcuff the previous owner, but you definitely want to have a good transition. Where I once helped the landscaper transition out of the business, and his concern was, well, I don't want to sell this business to someone I don't know. They're not going to know that person. And I looked at him, I said, so you're just going to go out of business, retire, and then you're about to have to find somebody? I said, sell the business to someone you know, and while you keep transition to retirement for a year or two or whatever, 6 months, bringing them out on the jobs, introduce them to people, right? And so you have that, you can build that customer loyalty to the person you sell it to, which is what you want protection from if you buy an existing business. Okay. So that's just some pros and cons of buying existing business, but they're out there. There's plenty of people that do want to transition out, and it might not be today. It might be looking. I've had people that part of their transition is they partner with you with the agreement saying it transitioning out. Okay, so a lot of detail there, but it's out there. Right. You also can buy a franchise. Right. Franchises have a proven system. They'll have marketing support, sales support. Sometimes they give you leads, training guidance, professional guidance, continued relationship, access to other franchises. Now, I will tell you this, there is a franchise for almost any single business, excuse me, that you can think of. Not that you want to go that route, but if you never considered it, there's one for IT. There's one for holistic health. Probably not one for my ice hockey training. Um, Catering, I don't see franchises as much, but there's probably franchise catering. Um, Home Depot, maybe Home Depot, maybe there is Home Depot too. Um, but let me give you a resource for that. I know there's two companies out there that are brokers for franchises that you don't pay them. They only get paid if someone actually goes to the franchise. The one that I'm aware of is FranNet. And they are brokers that connect people with franchises um, as well. Okay. Disadvantages, they might restrict you to a territory. You do have to pay a fee, which you would build into your cash flow planning. Shoot, getting back to cash flow plan. I have a client that rents a booth at a beauty salon, and I'm helping her build her beauty salon practice. And part of that right there in her cash flow thing is the percentage of revenue she's got to pay to the salon owner. Okay. But she has a lot of that, but she's got great resources. The salon owner is a great mentor. Go off on a tangent, but that's a good resource for her. But just thought about the cash flow planning that she's got that fee in there, which is, I guess, similar to a royalty, right? And if the franchise has a problem, you have a problem, right? Which is not a good thing. So pros and cons of that. Home-based business, convenient work location, of course, less overhead, obviously flexible, which, as you can see, the other side is a disadvantage. Of course, with the flexible schedule, you have family distractions. I don't like that they put this one in here, but I know why they do. Just be very careful if you are deducting any home space for anything business related. There's a lot of rules around that. Just make sure you do it correctly. But yes, if you do it correctly and it's worth it financially, you can deduct space. And of course, you can work anywhere in the world, right? Um, Obviously, you got to be careful of this. I know in my neighborhood, a landscaper was kicked out for running a landscaping business out of his house. It was obvious. You could see the trucks pull up every morning and every night, unload into his garage, pull up every morning and unload onto his garage. He got a letter from the HOA, and then he had to move off. And I know him personally, and now he rents space at a storage facility for the trucks. And that had a negative effect on his cash flow, right? So let's be careful of that. I went to another client that was doing music training at his house. And then as he grew the practice, hired some people to do training, too much traffic at the house, and he got an HOA letter and they kicked him out. So it's got to be careful. All right. Another one with zoning restrictions is a big one too. I don't think anyone here is open in a business that might have that issue in their house, but just make sure you comply with regulations in your county and cities and state. I know once saw a person had land and they wanted to it had a barn on it. They wanted to convert it into an event center for like weddings and stuff. And I told them, asked them about this, and they said, "Oh, I never did that." And then they contacted certain municipalities, and they were not allowed to convert their barn to that kind of business. So they couldn't do it. All right. So let's be careful. That's my point. All right. All right. Online business, obviously low startup cost. People are way more acceptable to buying stuff online now than they ever were. You can sell anywhere. And obviously it's flexible. Disadvantage is that anybody can do it. And consumers have high expectations and yeah, no personal contact. I'm still one of those people that likes to feel and touch stuff, kind of stuff. Another thing that I've seen, and this applies to everything, online business, and now I'm going to be my famous jumping to sales and jumping around here, sales and marketing with this comment. One thing we'll talk about in sales and marketing is, many ways to do it. And one of them is, yes, the use of social media and paid advertising. And so as I jump to that, back to this disadvantage with online businesses is over the years, I've seen the cost to get interaction online and sell online is gotten way more expensive than it ever used to be. Okay. And so that's kind of, applies to disadvantage of online selling and a challenge when we talk about sales and marketing a little bit. Okay. And then we got nonprofits. I don't know. I'm not a big nonprofit. I don't know a whole bunch about them. I don't think anybody here today that maybe was nonprofit, but real briefly, obviously nonprofits, you can get government grants, get funding, you get protection, you can pay yourself a salary. I've seen some really good nonprofits, yes, their directors get paid decent salaries, so you can make a living running a nonprofit. A disadvantage that I always see from people, first of all, they're very hard to set up, very hard to maintain. At the end of the day, most people that get into nonprofits that I see realize 99.9% of your time is spent raising money, which is very difficult, and very little time at all doing the thing that they had a passion about, which was helping people one-on-one. Whether it was grooming or resume writing or getting, housing for the homeless, providing meals for veterans. At the end of the day, when you run a group, you're not even doing that anymore. All you're doing is raising money, and it's hard. So yes, it does fund those things, but I get a lot of that feedback from people, nonprofits, like that difficulty of doing that part, which is raising the money, and you're constantly, doing that. So anyway, I digress away from that. That's the pros and cons of a nonprofit. All right. Any questions on that section as I move on? All right, awesome. So what are the components of owning a business? Let me see how I'm doing time-wise. Oh, awesome. You are the CEO, right? You're all here. You're the owner. You're the boss. You're the CEO. However, you are also, right now, all of this. You are responsible for your bookkeeping and accounting. You're responsible for hiring and firing. You're responsible for sales and marketing. You're responsible for service, right? Product fulfillment, technology, and if you have a space, the facilities, right? For my tech people, this is awesome. But like, shoot, I'm constantly banging my head against the wall in this area. And I have to lean out to my resources to get help, right? So you have to be aware that you're doing all of these things right now. You have to be aware where you're strong in these things and where you need to delegate. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, jumping back to cash flow planning and cash flow work, right? What can you afford to delegate, right? And what's it going to cost you, right? So the one place that, I tell people the first place to delegate, especially if you're an S corp, is accounting, right? Who's doing your QuickBooks, right? Who's doing all that work, right? But at the end of the day, with all these roles, the number one job you have Number one job, number one job. Now, people will say I'm biased because I've been doing this my whole career, right? Is sales. What are you doing to get customers and clients, right? And we're going to talk about that. That's the marketing part, right? But also, are you pounding the pavement? Are you networking? What are you doing? If this isn't happening, there's no revenue, nothing else matters. Okay? That makes sense? Hopefully it does, and everyone's going like this. Oh no. Okay. Okay. So marketing. So now let's talk about sales and marketing. All right. A couple people said it today. Now, I am just one person. All right. So part of sales and marketing to me has always been networking, right? Getting yourself in business groups, getting yourself in peer groups. So part of that is I get a lot of clients personally from that activity. But then also I am surrounding myself, and I mean people like yourself too, are in those classes, are in those rooms. So I am in the Cabarrus Business Network. We meet twice a month. And in there, commercial realtor from Cabarrus County, a real estate developer for Cabarrus County, an attorney, an accountant, person who owned a flower business, a plumber. We actually had someone in the group that did psychotherapy. So my point is, A, to those groups, we refer to each other. I personally have a lot of clients that are in those groups and a lot of clients who've come through those groups and longer in those groups where I meet at the chamber. So the point I'm getting at with this is that's part of marketing. And it's also part of, we have some of our groups, we do roundtable discussion, right? I do one-on-one. What are you doing? What are you doing? What's working for you? What's working for you? Right? And so as I jump around, that's sales and marketing, right? So yes, but you want to create strategies that get people to want to engage with you, right? It's going to promote your brand, your service. I mean, again, and they all want to interact, right? And to me, you want to have multiple levels and things that work for you, right? So, for an example, we do email marketing. I do social media marketing, right? Um, I do, no, I'm doing a class here, but my company, we do physical events in Cabarrus County in Charlotte, right? Um, I used to do print advertising, not as much, not anymore, really. We've done mailers before. I know some people do radio advertising. So now this gets back to cash flow planning and back to that growing slow, right? I've seen people when I started, when I was at Heinrichs Financial, they would spend five, six, $8,000 on a marketing campaign. A, didn't have the money, and B, didn't have the stomach for that. So my approach was go slow, right? Now, some people spend that kind of money, eight, nine, $10,000, and are very successful. And some do that and they're not successful. Okay. That's where you have to do that part right. Right. But I chose in the beginning of my career to do it slowly instead of because I would have had to do credit cards and borrow, which I didn't want to do. Okay. Um, so I saw I had a bunch of questions. Let me stop and pause here. Oh, oh, let me get it open. No, I keep trying to get the chat box open and it keeps clicking ahead. Where's the chat box? Oh, there it is. Sorry, people. It popped up and now it's gone. All right, hold on. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see the chat box. All right. Trusting a new IT services provider might be a challenge. How to get the trust in our business when you know there are a lot of competition in the market. All right. I think as I keep talking, I might answer that. So let me keep talking. Um, all right. So I'm going to keep, again, a lot of times, all right. So get back to that question too. People, because you made a great point. People buy from who they know, like, and trust. Okay. I didn't read the question out loud. The question was, how do I get people, again, I'm paraphrasing here, to trust me? I'm a new IT business to when they don't know because I don't have the experience or they don't know me. Okay. So, and you're right. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. And that is, you're right. That's the challenge. How do we build that? How do we build it so people know, like, and trust us? Okay. So one way to answer that question, the IT service is, like I said, through your multiple channels of marketing and networking and being out there. That's one way, right? So on all of we made a conscious effort in our firm. Almost 95% of all of our advertising and marketing is education based, not sales based. What I mean by that, even my other advisor might do an email campaign. I'll read it. Great, 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 great. Education, education, education. Boom, you made it sales, right? And he goes, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "You just said how we solve that problem. And I'm another anomaly." Well, Keith, aren't you supposed to do that? Yeah, but if I do it every time, it's sales, right? If you just leave it with the education and don't tell people how we solve it, what do you do? What does every people do? Well, wow, that was great. And then they do what? They go to my Facebook page. They go to my website. I've had people then attend a class, okay? Or they read the education and they're coming to the chamber events, right? So through all that effort is a way that you start to build that credibility and that trust. That makes sense, right? So what do you do with, again, back to sales and marketing, branding? Yes, you want to create some name recognition. You want to keep identifying, yes, your qualifications. Um, Now, and you want to identify, yeah, and you want to always have it consistent, integrated in all your marketing and your advertising. All right. So your brand really is, who you are and really what you're trying to do. And again, I'm not but also as I keep saying this, again, I kind of correct myself in my mind. We're talking high level here. So another way you get a lot of these answers is you want to surround yourself with a lot of people and they'll help you with, again, back to the networking. And I go to classes. I've been in chamber events where they have someone come in that teaches us about branding. Okay. So, and I've even hired people myself. I've actually once hired someone, he actually was a comedian to help me a little bit with my messaging, and speaking and so forth. So sometimes you have to do that. Right. Oh God, I keep talking about sales, right? So yes, who are your customers? Who are your clients? The library person will do a great. That's her presentation. They have a great database to really use to pinpoint it. But yeah, you want to identify who your clients are, who your customers are. Um, where you're gonna find them. Like again, my home decor person. I'm gonna give a good example, maybe a little bit. A lot of times I encourage people, I talked before, I keep talking about networking and getting involved in groups. Well, another thing I see people do successfully as business owners, um, is join associations that are related to your industry. It might not apply to everybody. So for an example, um, you know, I had a client that did power washing. And so what he did is he was in home builder associations, um, management company associations, all different associations, and he would attend their events to learn. Um, and over time, he built camaraderie, relationships. They got to know him. And so if a building manager needed a building cleaned, or if a home builder needed, a sidewalk power wash, whatever, they would just start hiring him. Um, kind of stuff. So, that's kind of an example. Um, of that. I had another one in my head that just lost it, but sales, you want to know who your customers. Oh, that was it. Duh, popped in my head. My practice, um, half my clients are women. So we actually for years was in for in a group that was called E-Women Network. It was all women, but they allowed men in the group. I learned a lot. Again, they brought in a lot of awesome speakers about sales and marketing and all cool stuff. But then again, people would say, "Well, why are you here? You're a man." I said, "Well, yeah. Well, half my clients are women, so I need to find where are women and learn how to interact and what should I be doing to do good sales to women." So anyway, jump around a little bit. Hopefully that was helpful example, um, and so forth. Right? But you want in sales, not only do you want to know who your customers are, we also want to have a process. So do you have a sales process, right? So from your first touch, when they engage on your website and they go into your email marketing or they hire you, like what are your follow-ups? What are your touches? And then after they become a customer, what is your process in your company to run your sales process? Is what I'm trying to say there. All right. And then process orders and close deals and so forth. All right. You want to have that kind of written down or in your mind and so forth. All right. So someone asked you earlier, what if I don't have the skills? It is important. Hold on a second. I think I got another Q&A. Oh, nope. I asked that one already. All right. I'm going to mark it answer live. Apologize. All right, cool. If you don't have the skills to that gentleman, yes, go take a course, or maybe go get a job in that industry first before you start your business, right? So get a job in home health or get a job, helping people with home decor or get a job at a catering company before you start your own, right? That's the way you can also get the experience. Or partner and delegate to someone that has it. Okay. So other critical factors, obviously that are important is location. Again, I'm looking at this. I'm trying to. I've done this class 100 times. I try to remember where score was coming from when they wrote this class. Yes, location is important. Obviously, it's always your niche. Identifying who your competition is, how you're going to distribute your product, and in merchandising. But let me talk about competition again. So we mentioned earlier, it's important to know who your competition is, and also from sales and marketing, or identifying how you're different than your competition or unique. But at the end of the day, here's what I'll tell you. Yes, most of us all have competition, and who's successful or not, and this is a critical factor, comes back into who does all the stuff that we're talking about today, right? Who's making the phone calls? Who's going to the chamber? Who's doing the cash flow planning? Who is doing all the things that we're talking about to make it successful and continue it? I know a business that I helped do cash flow planning, do all this work for, and they were successful for years. She had 2 spaces in a shared spaces. And then didn't engage with after years doing that very successfully. But just normal, sometimes the client disengages. About 2 years went by. She moved out of her location and got a big facility. And I was like, oh wow. And my first thought was, okay, maybe she's working with somebody else. That's cool. Make a long story short, that practice lasted a year. And I could guarantee you why. She didn't do any of the things that she did in the beginning that made her successful. And then when she moved to a bigger location and brought in people, I knew in my mind how many patients she needed to see to be successful. And I was like, whoa. And so she wasn't doing the things that she did in the first time that made her successful. And she failed the second time because she didn't do all these things, these critical that we're talking about today. So that's why how I apply it to competition, because we all have competition. It comes back down to who does all the stuff we're talking about today. And you know what? Does it consistently throughout. Other critical factors when it comes to what we're talking about, yes, is how you're going to price your product. No, and I'm going to start again. I thought I had time. I still got time. So I don't want to go too fast, go too slow. So I'm going to talk about here as pricing goes. I'm going to tie it to cash flow planning, right? Keith, what should I charge? Yes, we all want to get the most that we're worth. But also, when you're building a practice, I've seen people that were struggling getting customers or clients. And so we did the cash flow work. And I said, I looked at what they're charging. I said, well, could you lower your price? Well, I don't want to do that. All right, well, if you lowered your price to this, would you get more customers? Yeah, probably, maybe. So it's a numbers game. So if you're getting X customers at this price point and you get more at this price point, you might make more money, or how many customers to meet the nut, right? So, again, there's some neat stuff you can do with pricing. But to me, you need your cash flow planning done, the financials done. But yeah, what are you going to charge? Figure that out. And then yes, you do want to know what your competition is charging, and maybe that could be a differentiator from you and them. Okay. What is this? This one's about if you want to kind of research your customers, learning more about what they're providing, what their strengths are. You can observe them outside, go on their website, be hiring a shopper, just doing your own due diligence and so forth. You want to kind of really pinpoint the differentiators between you and the people around you. Okay. You want to research all that stuff. All right. How to make it legal. All right. Sometimes I do bad at transitions. So now I'm going to transition. Any questions on that part of it? All right, I'm gonna go to my one awesome volunteer. You know, and you could be, and you could be honest or not. Make sense? Awesome. Thank you. Oh, I got a Q&A. Got a Q. Hold on. Got a Q to get it up. Why is that? Where's the open question? Why is that? All right. I got it marked done. That's why. Sorry about that. Another question right here. Oh, yes. Thank you, Sylvia. See, some of you all, and then again, if my class manager end up getting into the room, if you can go right click on everyone's name in their participant file and make them panelists, so whoever isn't, then you can go on screen and then you can chat. All right. So now I'm going to transition to making it legal. So how do you make your business legal? So you are either going to be, most people start here or here. Very common. My really quick disclaimer, I am not an accountant and I'm not an attorney. Nothing that I say today should be taken as tax advice nor legal advice. Okay. However, I practice one for fun in real life. Okay. In my practice, I do this all the time for my clients, and I've also do this personally. But even then, yes, at the end of the day, we double stamp it with our accountants and our attorneys. Okay. So that being said, let me give you the education here. As a startup, most people who are in business are here or they start here. The main difference between these two is the liability, pretty much. All right. So if you're starting a business and you don't have a lot of assets, don't have a 401k, don't have a house, a lot of stuff, then you're probably fine right here. But the main difference is that when you're here and do this correctly, and then operate it as an LLC correctly, which is another discussion, pretty easy discussion, then if you make a mistake, your business makes a mistake, the only thing you can lose in a lawsuit is your business assets, for the most part. Okay. So that's why most people start either here or there, and very commonly they start here. The most next common thing that I see that I'm a big, huge fan of is right here, S corps. There's a lot of things you can do under an S that you can't do here or here that provide a lot of tax favored treatment and tax advantages, right? And other stuff. So to save time and keep it simple, the next question I get is, Keith, well, when should I do this? All right. The answer I get from accountants and mine is pretty close, except sometimes I might go with a lower revenue number or profit number. Okay. Most accountants will say if you're making 80 plus thousand in profit, then you might want to consider being an S. They say 80 to 100. But accountants will differ on this. Okay. Um, and I I've seen I've done it less for clients, only when we knew we were going to grow real fast. So the client, so anyway, but like that's a whole other discussion. But that's generally the range. If you're going to be profitable here, then you might want to start as an S. But if you're a sole or an LLC and you think you're going to profit at 100,000 up, then you want to talk to your accountant or someone like me about, is it time for you to switch to an S? Easy to do, not hard. But the challenge here is there are some extra costs. You definitely need a bookkeeper here. There's some extra stuff you need to do quarterly. But again, it's worth it for the tax breaks, tax benefits, et cetera, you can do. Et cetera. So I'm going to keep this part short because I can talk an hour here. Again, if you do a partnership, even there, I've seen LLCs as a partnership. You definitely want an attorney to draft a partnership agreement. And then I've even seen somehow some partnerships under an LLC. That's where it gets confusing even to me. All right. So here's where eventually, if you're not sure, you have to hire someone like myself or an accountant to help you out. Okay. Makes sense. Everyone's doing this, I know. And look at that. No questions in the chat. I usually get a ton on this one. All right. I'm going to move on. Oh, there you go. I just said it. Keep it simple right here. Oop, forget, I don't have a pen. Keep it simple. That's what I just told you. Liability, even here, if you have a liability concern, oh, there it is. There's the LLC. There you go. Yep. And then that's when you have the profit. I just talked about all that. All right, perfect. Just make sure you comply with government regulations. Um, depending on your holistic health. I don't know. I don't know if IT has any licenses, but just make sure you all have the right licenses and approvals in your industries. I know mine, there's a ton of them. Right? Make sure you comply to any labor laws, immigration, and then, make sure you comply with this stuff. This one really applies when you're an S corp. Right? But there's a lot of stuff here, but yeah, just make sure you comply with the regulations. That's a key component. If you're not sure, just search, the Secretary of State website, just search, different county governments, and contact those departments, and they usually help you out. And that comes back down to peer groups. If you have a peer group in the health industry, holistic health, IT, and even home decor, I'm not sure, you can ask them what laws, regulations might you need to be compliant to. When you're doing a business, you want to make sure you have all the correct insurance. And this also flies into cash flow planning, right? What does what does it all cost, right? So if you have a facility, you need property insurance, right? So for me, I own my space. We're all in a building, so the building has an HOA, but HOA has insurance on the building, but I needed property insurance on my space. Okay. Also, this is a big one I see people forget to get. Even if you're an LLC, which you have liability protection. You still need liability insurance, I feel, because if you're sued for $1 million, maybe you don't care if you lose the lawsuit, or if you're sued for $100,000 because you have no assets, but still, the liability insurance will pay that claim. Okay. Now, in my business, I have some places require me to have errors and omissions. So yes, you want to make sure if you're getting in business that you have liability insurance, right? Home health. Ice skating trainer. If you're actually on the ice, you definitely want liability insurance. There might, and you gotta, all this stuff. I'm jumping around here a whole bunch, but you want to make sure you have liability insurance. You want to, contact a good, commercial insurance that's property and casualty people and talk to them. Hey, I need liability insurance. I'm doing a ice skating, ice training. I have an IT business. I got a catering business, and they'll know, what kind of liability insurance will fit your practice or your business. When you contact insurance agencies, here's one of my biases. I love brokers. Brokers, someone not married to one company, right? A State Farm agent, Nationwide, Geico, they're all married to one company. But there's plenty of people in business for themselves that are brokers that can shop multiple carriers, and they got a much broader universe of different liabilities insurance. So you would contact them. Also, for people who have peer groups, you definitely want to contact your peer group, see what they're using. Because I even know sometimes, like in my business, there's actually companies that have industry-specific insurance written for financial advisors, right? So that's where I get my errors and omissions from, where, some people even at an insurance agency might not be aware of, right? If you use vehicles for your business, you want the proper liability, proper motor vehicle insurance. You want to tell your auto person that you use your car for business, or else you might not be covered if you get in an accident while you're conducting business. This is kind of the same as liability insurance. To me, it's similar. If you have employers, you need workers' comp. If you're in business for yourself, how are you going to address health insurance, right? If you're in business for yourself and you're profitable and you die, do you have life insurance if you're married to place that lost income? Or if you have a partner, or if you're a key in person and that partner dies or you die, you actually get life insurance. So my business has life insurance on me that when I die, my other advisor buys out my wife, and now he takes over the business. Okay. So stuff like that are all considerations in your business. And I bet you a lot of your heads are spinning right now, confused. So don't worry about it. Most people are. Remember, this is an overhead class. All right. So, business. Now, before I move on, any questions on anything I've talked to you so far? Up to this point. Okay, awesome. I'm either doing a really good job or you're all banging your head against the wall. I'm going to go with the former. But, all right. All right, cool. Business plan basics. I kind of talked about this already a bunch of times. This whole meeting has been building your plan, right? So short, simple, and sweet. Right. What are your objectives? Who are you? What are you trying to do? I go into the weeds here, but what's the importance of a business plan? It conveys who you are, what you want to do. It's the foundation for your business. It's a powerful tool, and it communicates your ideas. Right? So like I keep saying, I don't, do you need a table of contents? This old school business plans, we have a table of contents, a summary, maybe like 30 pages long. I can't read those. I don't, even in my 25 plus years in practice, even when I write emails and I talk to my other advisor, Eileen, we get to the point we've learned how to don't do a paragraph. There's too many, there's two things in that paragraph. Nope. Bullet, right? So business plan, Simple, sweet, and short. That's my bias. Who you are, what you want to do, the basics, the financials, and then the sales and marketing, and then the supporting data. It's to me, it's pretty basic and simple. Doesn't have to be fancy. Just something I can read, or someone like anybody can read and have good command of who you are, what you're trying to do, the forecast, and how you're going to be successful. That's everything in a nutshell. Yeah, the sales and marketing. That's what I meant. How you're going to sell, how you're going to market, who your markets are. Don't write a paragraph. Here's what I'm going to sell to. Here's how I'm going to do it. Here's how I'm going to market. Here's, just write it all down. Okay. But short, sweet, and simple was my point. Build your team, right? Surround yourself. The gentleman said before in that chat, well, how's IT? Well, if people don't know me and I'm new, how they going to trust me enough to hire me, right? It's the same thing on the flip side, right? You meet someone for the first time, so start if you're out there in the community networking, right? Attending business events and joining groups, right? There's bankers and lawyers in there. In my bit, I get to how many great business bankers I meet through networking events. And I still send tons of business to TrueLiant for business loans. And they got a great CD right now going on. But, and then now my group, that's the TrueLiant person, right? But I met lawyers. My accountant I met at a group. But even now, my accountant is retiring, not taking on new clients. My pool of accountants have gotten kind of expensive for some people. Anyway, make a long story short, I personally, in my practice, was looking to expand my universe of accountants. And I went to someone that I trusted and said, who's your accountant? And she said, you know what? I met this person in this women's group. She's really good. Gave me the name. I reached out to her. We did a one-on-one. And now she helps a lot of my clients. Right. And so and I'm building trust. The point I'm getting at is you want to build your team and you want to build them when you don't need them, not when you need them. Because you want to build that trust, build that relationship. And then also, as I digress back to the sales and marketing and network groups, as I go about and meet these people and I learn about them, sometimes we have a roundtable discussion. The banker talks about how she gets clients, and the lawyer talks about how he does the sales and marketing and what he's doing, or how he had to fire someone, or a difficult client, or all kinds of neat stuff. So again, there's multiple benefits from all the stuff we're talking about today. All right. Definitely want a good insurance agent. And yes, go to SCORE and get yourself a mentor for sure, 100%. All right. There's no cost to mentors. And I tell my mentors all the time, and they still don't believe it. I'm like, listen, we're not one and done. Oh, great. And I give them a link to my calendar and they set meetings whenever they want. All right. Other mentors will do similar. All right. So to wrap this up before my library person, stay for the library. A great resource for you. You are going to get a self-assessment. When we were in person, we did it face to face. I should take that one out. Score yourself. Am I a 10 or a 1? And now you know where you need to improve on your own, with people around you, or your mentor. All right. So your homework is start your business plan, start writing down your vision, your purpose. I'm sure you all did. But as I say this, at the end of the day, and I even kind of joke around with some, is I got a little disgusted, even the SCORE mentor once. And the focus is business plan. And I made this next comment, which at the end of the day, sales, sell. If yes, you want the liability insurance, you want to make sure you have that stuff done and you're compliant, yada, yada, yada. But I have actually seen people not do cash flow planning, not like do the business plan, but did the LLC, got the liability insurance, and then they're just got so much revenue coming in, sales. Then on the back end, they started working with someone like me. I'm like, all right, now let's get some structure here. Right. So if you got people you can work with that are ready to hire you and you're an LLC and yes, again, back to my health, now, holistic health and the training. Yes. How do you engage the client? Like for me, like if they hire you to do IT service and holistic health, yeah, you want to have engagement paperwork. They're hiring you for X, Y, and Z. So yeah, if you don't have that yet, then you need that. Right. But at the end of the day, yeah, revenue and sales is gonna be the number one thing you ought to be, if you can start doing it, get that revenue coming in for sure. Right. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I've seen people just, sales, 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 sales. So revenue, revenue, revenue. So that's gonna be the driving factor of your success along all the other stuff we talked about today. So that's my again, I'm a salesperson. I've been my whole life. That's how I see it. I've seen people be very successful. That's their driver. And I think a lot more people I've seen are unsuccessful. That's what it comes down to. Everything else they've done really, really well, but they're not getting the revenue from the sales. Okay. And to finish on that, yeah, I've seen people that, hey, you got the LLC, you're legitimate, you've got engagement paperwork. If people want to hire you, go do it. And just stick the money in a separate account and keep everything separate. You're good to go. All right. Hope that was helpful. I'm going to stick around until this is over. I'm going to turn it over now. Yeah. We talked about simple steps, right? Again, I thought I was done, right? We were here. So yes, you could go online and get these classes and do them yourself. But yeah, this is what we talked about today. The next step is you work on the details of all that. Right? Now I think. Oh yeah. Another great resource, you'll get the deck. But if anyone want to take a quick screenshot of that or picture, that's the SCORE National website. Awesome stuff on that website. Definitely go check it out. All right. And then the 1 to 10. Now I'm done. That's how we did. Look at that. 1 minute over. All right, Barbara, you ready to rock and roll?
Okay. Could you turn on my sharing, please?
Oh, you're not a co-host? You should be able to share. Hold on, I'll turn it on. You can't share?
No. Here, I'll send a request.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for everybody. So I'm with the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library, and I'm going to be presenting today about how the library can help you get info and data for your business plan, find customers, find competitors, and all the databases that we have available to you. The first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is all the libraries databases. And you have already paid for these. If you have a library card in whatever library that you belong to, at whatever county you belong to, you can get a library card for free. Just go to your library with usually you just have to show something that shows proof of your address in that county and get a library card. You paid for it with your property taxes. So we're going to look at some examples of databases. And the first one, well, before we do that, the North Carolina General Assembly, so the people in Raleigh, have paid for a set of databases called that you have access to. And it is not just one database, it's an entire family of databases called NC Live. So N as in North, C as in Carolina, Live, LIVE.org. So nclive.org is the set of databases that you have access to. And it is a family of 90 databases with over 1.8 billion articles, videos, ebooks, and more. And it's not just business. It is everything from business support. It's homework help. It's everything under the sun. And if, for example, if you are serving an immigrant community or hiring from an immigrant community, they have a language learning resources. They have homework support for students. They have all kinds of things because it not only supports the general public, it supports colleges. So every single person with a library card in the state of North Carolina has access to all of these databases throughout North Carolina. Now, there are also some databases that I'm going to be showing you that are specific to particular libraries that we have paid extra for to gain access to. So there are some that only certain libraries have access to, and some that everybody in North Carolina has access to. So we're going to start with one called ABI Inform. So in today's example, we're going to pretend that we're going to set up a pet store. So if you have a pet supply store, we're going to start with information on gathering data for a pet supply store. And ABI Inform is a database that has industry surveys. So if you wanted to do research on a particular industry, ABI Inform collection is the name of the database that is contained within nclive.org that everybody has access to with your library card. It will ask you to authenticate in with the name of your library system. So if you're in Charlotte, it'd be Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library or Cabarrus County Library System in your library card number to access the databases. And then you can do industry research. So whatever your industry is, for example, Dun and Bradstreet has a quarterly industry research service where they have done pet care services, and it tells about the industry forecasts, the critical issues, the trends and opportunities and financial ratios. So it does have some numbers for you that you may need to plug into your business plan. So you have things like that, sales and marketing, human resources, industry growth, things like that. And before we move on to our next database, I want you to notice here in the lower left-hand corner, these two things at the bottom, the NAICS code, which stands for North American Industry Classification Service, and SIC code. And SIC is Standard Industrial Classification System. So SIC code, Standard Industrial Classification, and NAICS, North American Industry Classification System, those are numbers that are assigned to a particular type of company, or excuse me, a particular type of industry. So for example, pet care services has been assigned that number. And if you have a particular kind of company, it will be assigned a number. And a company that does multiple lines of business, like Walmart, will have like 20. So the bakery will have a number. The grocery store will have a number. The fact that they sell paint will have a number. The fact that they sell clothing will have a number. The fact that they sell DVDs will have a number. So all of these numbers are assigned to a particular type of business that they have, and those will be important as you are doing industry research, because even though the SIC has kind of been replaced by the NAICS NAICS number, they're both kind of used in business databases, and they are a different number. So as you can see, the NAICS number and the SIC number are different numbers, just like Puffs and Kleenex do the same thing, but they have different names. These do the same thing, but they have different numbers. And that will come to play with our next database, which is Data Axle Reference Solutions. When you are searching for information on companies, Data Axle Reference Solutions, and if you've been doing any kind of company research for many years, this one used to be called Reference USA. So Data Axle Reference Solution gives you information on companies. So if I'm looking for companies I would use this database kind of almost like you would use the old Yellow Pages, but this does it for the entire country. So I can find out where all of the pet stores are in the entire country, or as small as all the pet companies that are in a 1 mile radius of my house address. And you can get them, to do an entire list of records for the county, for the MSA, Metropolitan Statistical Area. So for here in Charlotte, that would be Charlotte and Concord and Rock Hill and Gastonia and Monroe and the feeder communities around us. And they have records of all the locations. So it's not just the PetSmart corporate location, which is wherever that is, but it's every single location of PetSmart. So you can find out where are my competitors. So if I'm putting together my pet store, where are all the competitors so that I know where I should put mine, because I don't want to put mine across the street from another one. I want to put mine in a place where there isn't one. So this can be used to find out where are all the other pet stores so that I don't have one close by, or conversely, if I have made the next best, greatest, I don't know, dog bone, where can I sell it to all the pet stores? So I know where my customers are if I'm selling my pet product to a pet boutique, for example. So when you look at a specific listing, it will tell you executive names, it will tell you a business profile, approximately, and they have a formula behind it, approximately how much they paid in marketing and accounting and things like that. And you can download these into a spreadsheet. You can get all kinds of information from it. And you can download 250 at a time, and you can get gigantic spreadsheets. If you're feeling old school, you can do a mailing. If they have a website, oftentimes they'll have the websites listed on there. They don't typically have email addresses, unfortunately. And you can additionally map them. So you've got all these capabilities for information on physical locations of these. And you can say, okay, well, I've got all this information on where they physically are. Where do I want to put my pet store? Well, okay, let's say I'm looking at this map. I can now know where all the physical locations are. What about the people? Where are the people that are buying the pet supplies? Now I'm going to go to a database that my library has paid extra to get, and other libraries have paid extra to get, and it's called simply Analytics. Now, several locations in North Carolina, like Greensboro Public and High Point Public and Duke and ECU and UNC, and check your own library if you're not in the Charlotte area to see if they have also subscribed to it. You may have access to it with your library card. And this is a database that looks at people. Where are the people and where are people spending their money? So this is looking at how much are people spending, and the darker the color, the more they're spending. So I want to put my pet store in an area where there is dark red. Now you can see that there's this gray area kind of west of Charlotte. Well, that's where the airport is, so they're not spending money there. That's why that particular area is gray. But I want to put my pet store in a dark red area where there is not a pet store already. Okay. So and you can additionally look at, if you find an area that's like, that looks interesting, let's look at the household size. You can go into much more in depth if you find one that's like, how much are they spending? Well, they're spending on, the median household income of that particular area in Mecklenburg County is this, and that census tract has this much money, and you can go into quite a bit of detail in these. So again, the darker The darker the color, the more money is being spent. So what does that mean? That means that you've got 500 million sales in this area. You've got a lot of pets in this area. You've got a ton of money being spent. What do we do? Well, let's compare. This is the same area. On the right side is data Axle. On the left side is simply analytics. I've got a dark area with not a lot of pet stores. Hey, I think I'll put my pet store there. So you've got mapping abilities in both databases that you can use to compare and contrast. Okay. And again, once you get to the point where you're like, okay, I have a product that is, I'm aiming towards a particular audience and I want to market it to a particular audience. Well, now you're getting into some information that I think I want to market it to an older audience. Maybe I have this particular product that's good for, it's a pooper scooper for people who don't want to bend down to pick up the pooping because they're older. Maybe I'm putting that on Facebook because that's the Facebook generation because they're not bending over. So now you know which area of town has more older adults, or if it's something that's for a younger crowd. Maybe I'm doing that for TikTok. So you're knowing which areas of town have which demographic or whatever. So this gives you an idea of who's living where and in which census tract, for example. Okay. So now that you have all these information on where the people live, where the companies are, or excuse me, where the businesses are located, what do you want to say to them? Well, you've got a database like Masterfile Premier. Now, this is one that is available to everybody through nclive.org. And you can look up magazine articles and get you can get some good wording and some good articles about pet products, for example, or you can perhaps get an article about how having a pet is good for your overall health or your good mental health. Having a pet in your life is giving, lowering your blood pressure or whatever, and you can put that in a post. Put that in your marketing. Hey, adopt a dog today to lower your blood pressure, and you have a study behind it, and then it gives you some authority to your posts. And you can put it in your business. You can put things into your business plan with some authority behind it. Look, this study says having a pet will, make you live 3 years longer, according to blah, blah, blah study from Denmark or whatever.
Hey, Barbara, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Someone asked in the chat, can you run this search for online businesses?
Can you run?
That was at 2:12. That was like 4 minutes ago. So I don't know if
Oh.
that was a different slide it applied to.
The data Axle does brick and mortar businesses.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, go ahead, repeat that for Sylvia so she can hear it. Oh, go ahead. That's all.
Yeah, unfortunately, data Axle does physical businesses. So something else you should do is keep up to date with your current business climate in your city. So here in Charlotte, we've got the Charlotte Business Journal. Of course, up in the Triangle area, they have the Triangle Business Journal. Keep up to date with what's going on in your city and find out what is opening, what new businesses are opening in your own city. You're going to have access to your, whatever daily newspaper you have through your library, most likely. Make sure that you have, you're keeping your finger on the pulse. Find out what's going on. And these are the ones that are available, again, through our library's databases that we pay for. Now, additionally, through through the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library System, we pay for LinkedIn Learning if you want to if you want to learn software type classes. These are streaming videos, so it is not an interactive kind of computer class. It is a passive kind of computer learning. You are watching videos, so you can learn how to build websites. You can learn how to do office products, QuickBooks. But it used to be lynda.com. If you're familiar with lynda.com, it used to be that, but it is now LinkedIn Learning. But it does have all kinds of videos that teach you how to do any kind of computer related, software related thing you could ever want to learn. But it is something that is available through the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library's library card. But it is passive. It is not, it is watching videos. Another one that the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library card has is the universal class. This one, you have an option. It has, from many of the classes, a passive audit option, or you can have it be interactive asynchronously, where there is a human being assigned to the class, but you do the class, you have homework, you have tests, and then you get feedback from a teacher via email. It is not, you have to be at a class at Tuesday at 2 o'clock. You do the homework, you do actually have assignments that you have to do, and you do chapter 1 and you have to do the tests and the assignments, and then you submit them, and then you get feedback, and then you get to do chapter 2 and assignments and tests and get feedback, and then do chapter 3. So it does have an interactive component to you that you have to do, but that's available through our library system. And then another one that we subscribe to is the Gale Library Directory. And Keith was talking earlier about you want to join organizations that your peers are so that you can connect with your peers. Join the regional association of the whatever you are doing, so that you have people that you can talk to, so that when you are, when they're having a conference about whatever it is you do, that you're going to the conference for whatever it is you do. You form connections, you find out what the latest, greatest, whatever it is, so that you can keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on in your industry. You want to know, what are the trends, what's happening in your industry, so that you can react to things, and so that you can be ahead of the curve. You don't want to be reactive. You want to be one of the movers and shakers in your industry, not behind and reactive when something terrible happens. But you can also Google this. Oftentimes, when you have the association of, one of the people said that they had the hockey training thing. If there's an association of youth hockey, for example, or association of college hockey players, that would be one that would be probably very, very easily Googleable, that they could join. And then, of course, our library, and I'm sure other libraries throughout the state, offer business assistance at their local libraries. Book a time with your librarian and get help, and say, hey, what do you have available? If they don't have these exact databases that we have here, they probably have something similar, or can direct you to something similar to assist you. Here we have times that you can book a Zoom with a librarian, so that you can get one-on-one help. Hey, I'm working on X, I need help doing Z. Can you help me find this portion of information? If we can't find that portion of information, we can help direct you to the right area. And of course, we are a library. We want you to be happy, not just in business, but in everything else. If you are tired of doing business, we also have books on everything under the sun. You can learn how to crochet. You can read a fiction book. You can watch a movie. you can have some fun. But we're here to help you with the business portion of your life as well. If you want to get a library card with us, please do so. Come to any one of our branches. If you're out of county, it is $45 per year per household. But if you are in county, just come on in, just bring proof of address in Mecklenburg County and a photo ID. And let me know if you have any questions.
Okay. Look at that, 7 minutes to spare. Thank you so much. All right, awesome. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Like I said, you'll get the presentation sent to you from SCORE after this meeting. I strongly encourage everybody here to go out and get themselves a SCORE mentor. And best of luck and success to all of your endeavors. Wish you all good success in times ahead. If we were going to, do we have a discount because we're not living in there?
Because we are supported through property taxes in Mecklenburg County, you have to actually be a Mecklenburg County resident, not just a Mecklenburg County worker to get a free library card. So there actually is not a discount.
I have a question. When will you send out this recording?
I do not know. Horrible question. I mean, sorry, horrible answer. Again, like I said, we're all volunteers. I just know it gets sent out. I always assume people get it shortly after. Like, I don't know how fast.
Okay,
people
so
run.
it is sent out.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
That's what
thank
they told
you.
me. And no one's ever said any different. So,
Oh, someone said usually the next day.
okay. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other questions before we conclude? All right.
Michelle had a question about alternative keywords for your research. Depends on what you're working on. So for example, I had a gentleman who was looking for things for his he came in looking for business. He wanted to use Data Axle and he wanted construction businesses, but he didn't actually find his answer under construction. It was contractors. So it kind of depends. Sometimes you have to noodle around for it. When we were looking under SIC and NAICS codes, we ended up looking under other businesses that he knew about and looked under the SIC codes that they had to find businesses and see how they self-identified to kind of go off onto some tangents. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for. So we would have to noodle around with that. I don't know if I helped Michelle. Michelle?
Yeah,
Still with us,
I'm sure it
Michelle?
did. I'm sure. So, and I just realized that not anyone cares. I didn't put my SCORE background on my background. Well, everybody again, have a great rest. Oh, wait, she's back. She has a question, right? That's why I asked about keywords. Sometimes
I would start with a thesaurus, maybe, Michelle. Sorry. Start with a thesaurus. Also start. It depends. We would have to noodle around with it. It just kind of sadly it depends. Wish I could make it an easier answer than that.
all right. And anybody else? Any other questions? All right. Well, I'll log it off. Have a great day,
Okay.
everybody. Bye.